Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Unpacking video. We are so thankful that you took time out of your week to sit down and watch. If you haven't already, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to leave us a like and a comment as well. With that, let's go ahead and get into this week's Unpacking video. Well, hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Unpacking. Today we're sitting down with Pastor Darin and we're going over his message from this weekend, and I believe part 10 of the Radical series. I was going through and saving messages today, and this week was part 10 of the Radical series. So it's been going on for a while, but man, the content just seems to be getting better and better every single week. I hope so. I really like this series. I think it's really good. But your message this weekend really fed off of what Josh had ministered last week about radical faith. Yeah. And this week's message was radical hope. And I thought this week's message was really good. I thought it was the perfect piggyback from last week. So I'll let you take the unpacking part of this whole video.
Well, I knew what I was going to talk about before Josh talked about what he talked about. Mm-hmm. But that's what I told him after church on that Sunday that he ministered. I told Josh, I said, dude, you set me up.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, I think with either one of these messages, because he talked about radical hope, radical faith, with either one of them, whichever one went first would be a setup for the other. Yeah. Because faith and hope are a package deal. Yeah. So, however, hope is the thing that probably don't get talked about as much as faith does. Mm-hmm. Coming from the Bible. Yeah. Yeah, I think that sometimes, or at least for me, instead of, in my mind, faith almost overrides hope. That hope isn't as important as faith is. And that faith kind of covers that hope, that it's not good to hope, You know, to me, I think that it's like faith is like Marcia from the Brady Bunch, and hope is like Jan. You gotta have both of them in there. But the silent one, that's the kind of what I call the conduit, which is a catalyst or an accelerant.
Yeah, I think that that's kind of a good way to look at it, is that one is kind of the poster child in church, and the other one is kind of.
You still get a Brady sister.
Yeah, it's still a Brady sister, but it depends on which one it is. No, I think that a lot of times in Christian world, the idea of like hoping for something, like you said, you brought it up on Sunday, that there's the world's definition of hope, and then there's the biblical definition of hope. And I feel like we've really adapted to the worldview or the world's definition of hope rather than the Christian or the biblical definition of it.
I think it's because that's what we've been sold in our culture and society. And we've just gotten used to that, Instead of speaking hope and with no doubt in there, we don't want to get the world's, the world doesn't want us to get our hopes up because it may not work out the way that you thought it should. Yeah. But in God's world, He don't care. Right. He don't. It may look like He didn't come through, but He always does. Right. It may not be the way that you like it. It may not be the way that you figured it, but it's going to come through. Whether if you keep your belief in it, it'll come through. Yeah, definitely.
There's I really thought that was a really cool perspective that you brought. Was we're shifting our perspective from a worldview of hope to a biblical perspective. And I really like the example. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's where it begins. That's where it gets radical.
Yeah.
You go from hope, the way that we know it in today's society and culture, or it gets radical when you go into God's way. Yeah. Because that's what people don't like. That's what when people when people become uncomfortable in not knowing how it's going to turn out, or they get comfortable with thinking that they know how it's going to turn out, that's not radical.
Yeah.
Radical is being, giving that to God and letting Him do whatever He wants to with it.
Yeah.
Through you.
Right. What I was going to say before you dropped that on us, no, it wasn't an interruption. I thought that it was really good. That taking it from a worldly thing where you get radical with it is it's still defined as hope. Yeah.
But when you do it God's way, it's radical hope.
Yeah.
That's where the radical comes in. It goes against status quo.
Yeah.
And so what were you going to say before I said that?
I was just going to say, I thought that the example that you gave us on Sunday through Abraham and Sarah, that was a really, that embodied hope perfectly, I felt like. And whenever you think of hope, at least for me personally, I haven't really associated Abraham and Sarah with hope until you brought it up on Sunday. So can we dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. When God came to Abraham, when He spoke to Abraham was 75 years old the first time that He spoke to him. That's where He began to talk to him about changing his name and began to talk to him about being a father of many nations.
Yeah.
Even though Abraham and Sarah didn't have any kids.
Right.
That is when their names were Abram and Sarai. It's before God made a covenant with them, but He came to them and told them what He wanted to do. Came to Abraham and told him what He wanted to do through him, and in that, between 75 and 100 years old is how long it took that hope to really manifest, for Abraham to really get a hold of what hope was, because hope sees what you don't see. A lot of times people say faith does that. It's hope that does that. Yeah. Hope is the catalyst. Faith is what you believe until you do see that. Once you see that come to pass, once that becomes manifest, then that's where faith gets completed. Yeah. But all that time that you've been waiting between believing and seeing is that hope helps you to stay on track, helps you to see what needs to be saw. That's why I call it the seesaw.
The seesaw, Sunday. Yeah.
That was Abraham's seesaw. So it kept him seeing until he saw. Yeah. Kept him seeing what will be until it is. Yeah. So that's what happened during that time. But during that time, Abraham, like all of us, he was a normal human being. He tried to help God out. He tried to help that hope out. Yeah. You can't help hope. Right. Hope helps you. You don't help hope. You help hope, you screw everything up. Yeah. And that's where Ishmael come in. Yeah. See, Sarah said, I'm going to give you my handmaid. I'm going to give you my mistress to be your mistress so that you can bring God's plan to pass with my mistress. Right. That got him in trouble. Even though he had a kid named Ishmael, Ishmael was not the promised, because he came through Abraham's way. Right. Of doing things. Not through God's way. Right. And God's way of doing things was hope. Yeah. So when God began to talk to Abraham when he was 75, what took place in between, Abraham tried to help God out, which that's what we as humans do. Right. I mean, God's the smart one. We're the dumb ones, but we try to think that we're smart and can help him out. Yeah. Just so God don't look like an idiot. So that God don't look like if he don't do. If God doesn't come through, then I've got a way to explain God. Yeah. That's what Ishmael was. Yeah. On Sunday, you mentioned a message that you did for Stampede, right? It was last year. Or 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I think I did that message. Yeah, called "Get the If Out." Yeah, and you use that analogy that if God doesn't do this, or we a lot of the times put a stipulation on it, on God, of saying like,
well, I will obey if, or I think about the prayers that people do, praying for a loved one or whatever, and they say, if you heal blank, or if you do this, God, then I will follow you all the days of my life. I'll dedicate my life to you, which isn't wrong, because a lot of the times there's really cool testimonies that come out of that. I've seen a lot of people that have come to God because of that, because God is good and he heals. But the stipulation that we put on God of, if you do this for me, then I'll be faithful. If you do this for me, then I'll do this.
Or if God doesn't do this, then I can help him.
Yeah.
One of the biggest ifs out there, and I don't remember if I gave this example through that message or not. The Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, 3 Hebrew children in Daniel that was thrown into the fiery furnace.
Yeah.
The way the Bible's written there, which is good, it's just man's interpretation of what the Bible or what the original translation said in Hebrew, what we put into English. Basically, what the 3 Hebrew children said, which was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, what they said was that you throw us in there and our God will help us.
Yeah.
But if he don't, we'll just die and go to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
That's somewhat what they said, but it was not an if, that if he don't. That's not what they were trying to communicate. They were trying to communicate, we've got a better thing if things don't, we've got a better outcome.
Yeah.
If things don't work out. They weren't doubting. They were just saying, look, throw us in there. Mm-hmm. See what happens.
Yeah.
Our God will save us.
Yeah.
But if he don't, we're dead.
Yeah.
We're just going to die.
Right.
So.
In that case of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that hope that they had going into the furnace, the hope that they had of knowing that God would save them.
Yeah, they trusted him.
Yeah.
Trusted his word.
Yeah. That's the same hope that Abraham carried through that 25 years, the 25 years of waiting, of hoping for the promise.
Yeah. See, the hope got them into the fire alive and kept them alive while they were there.
Yeah.
To the point to where a fourth man showed up, which was Jesus himself.
Yeah. Showed
up in the flames. The 2 men, or the men that threw them into the fiery furnace, they died. Mm-hmm. Their hope, the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's hope, saved them going into the fire. These guys had no hope.
Right.
Where they just fell dead when as soon as they opened the doors up.
Yeah. Man.
Anyways, there's a lot to that right there.
Well, I think that it boils down to the power of hope, the power of radical hope. Mm-hmm. I mean, hope is powerful in and of itself, but whenever you get radical with it, whenever it becomes radical, then you're tapping into not just it's powerful, you're tapping into God's power in that hope.
Yeah.
And I think so many times, like you were saying with Abraham, with Sarah's maidservant, using her as kind of the mistress, or as the I guess, what am I trying to say? Using her as like I'm going to make God's promise happen. That, I mean, that's hope. Hopefully this will work, but that's not God's hope.
Right.
That gets us into trouble. And so many times we try to put our own hope or the worldly kind of hope into stuff. Yeah. And it gets us into that kind of trouble where we think that God is not working on my timeline, or this isn't happening as fast as I want it to. So I'm going to try to force something to happen, which then it usually gets us into trouble, just like it did with Abraham.
Yeah. A lot of times we as Christians look at Ishmael as a bad thing. Mm-hmm. He wasn't a bad thing. He's a good kid.
Right.
But he was a human kid.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't the product of hope. Mm-hmm. Even though he became more like baggage
Yeah.
than a blessing.
Right.
Because it was something that would never take shape. Ishmael would never take shape to be the promise that God wanted Isaac to be, which Isaac was the promised one. Isaac was the one that came between Abraham's 99th year and his 100th year. That's where Isaac was born.
Yeah.
Because God came to him through an angel and spoke to Abraham and said, look, this time next year, you'll have a kid. Sarah laughed. She was listening through the door, and she laughed. And God said, by the way, his name will be Isaac. It means laughter. Isaac's name means laughter.
Wow.
And because both Abraham, when he was told that, laughed at God, and Sarah laughed at God. But a year later, they come back around. God comes back, and here's Isaac.
God has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
So, Ishmael, he was, if you look at the genealogy or the lineage of that area, of that region in the Middle East, isn't Ishmael can be traced back to be kind of the one who, I guess, fathered all of that or started all of that?
That's why, Islam.
Yeah.
Islam was birthed out of a lineage of Ishmael's.
Okay.
And that's why the Islam can say that Abraham was their father.
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah. There's so many similarities between the two, between Islam or similarities in where it comes from.
Right.
In similar stories and things of that nature.
Yeah. And so that's where Islam was born out of Ishmael, which is just, I'm not going to get down on, get off on talking about Islam and Muslims and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things that we can see that Ishmael brought nothing good, and therefore through his rejection, through the things that he carried, that religion carries that same thing to the place that it tries to overcompensate for that. They say they're rejected, but they're rejecting everybody else who's not them.
Wow.
So
just kind
of cycling that same.
Just like how Ishmael was kind of the way that he behaved towards Isaac that got him kicked out of Abraham's family or his camp, kind of with his mom.
Yeah.
That's how it still is today.
Yeah.
That it's kind of an attacking kind of deal on other religions that aren't them or whatever.
Yeah. The thing about it is God still loved him.
Yeah.
Still loved Ishmael.
Yeah.
Because, when the first week we come up with the radical generosity cards, Elroi, that you have on the back, or Roi, Elroi.
Yeah.
That statement came from God to Ishmael's mama.
Wow.
He said, I see you. I am the God that sees you. You're not gonna die out here. Ishmael's not gonna die. I'll take care of you guys. That's God's generosity towards them. El Roi, that's where it was spoken of, that I am the God who sees you. And he said it to Hagar, which was Ishmael's mama. Yeah. Which was Sarah's handmaiden.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty interesting just looking at that. And I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I mean, you look at the promise that God made to Abraham of, I'll make you the father of many nations. You see with Isaac and then with Ishmael, you see the nations that have come from that. With Isaac, I mean, Israel obviously is one of the nations, but then you have all those other nations surrounding Israel that are in that region. Yeah. And I just think it's really interesting that even in I don't know if this was Abraham's humanity or that the promise was still answered even in his humanity, that he is the father of many nations, even though it's not really a good thing. And there's a lot of, I won't say, by no means is every Islamic person a bad person, but there's the extremism that comes out of that is the bad thing,
Yeah.
And we see it's radical, but in a different way, on a
different
totally
time zone.
Yeah, on a totally different spectrum.
Yeah.
But just seeing the promise still being answered, even in Abraham's humanity, it might not have been a good thing, but the promise still came to pass.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder if Abraham didn't fall into his humanity or let his humanity take over and say, you know what, I'm going to bring my own version of hope to this, what that would look like now.
Yeah.
How different the world would be, how different our global system would be.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to think about,
Yeah.
And if he would have just trusted God, if he would have just said, you know what, I'm going to trust that God is going to bring this, even if I'm in the waiting for 25 years, I'm going to trust him in this. I'm going to have hope that he is good on his word.
Yeah.
What that would look like.
But how good is God? He knew what was going to happen. He knew that when he told Abraham at 75 years old, he knew that Abraham was going to try to help him.
Yep.
He knew all these things. Yet he made a way down the road to answer for that. And that was Jesus.
Yeah.
Because if anybody can keep a Muslim, radical Muslim, let me put it that way, a radical Muslim out of hell, it's Jesus.
Yeah.
God even made a way for that.
Yeah.
We think as Americans that we automatically go to heaven.
Right.
A lot of times, or we think because we're a Christian nation that we've got a special place with God. Well, your place to save your life is no different than a Muslim's way to save their life.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to Jesus.
Yeah. Man.
It's all the same Jesus journey.
Yeah.
There may be 1,000 ways to get to Jesus, but there's only one way to get to God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's through Jesus.
Yeah. Man, it's cool. I mean, growing up in church, I've known that all my life, but when you really put it into perspective like that Jesus is the answer, no matter where you are, what you're from, where you come from, what region of the world you're from, Jesus is the answer. Jesus is the focal point that we all need to get to. And even from a lineage like Abraham's, Jesus is that answer. Jesus is the focal point that we need to get to. He is the hope that we have. Mm-hmm. He's the one who inspires that hope on the inside of us. That because we have faith in him, we have a hope of getting to God.
Right.
So, man, that's really cool to think about.
Well, that's, I started the whole message off talking about the Apostle Paul in the New Testament. When he talks about, or when he teaches or notes faith, he notes that Abraham is the father of our faith. He's the father of our faith. And what father does not want to see his children do better than him? Yeah. A good, genuine father. I know that there are, if we were to get down to the details of it, some people would say, well, my dad was a jerk. My dad was no good. I didn't have a dad. I didn't, all that kind of thing. Yeah. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the genuine, true father. A genuine and true father will want to see his kids, his sons, his daughter, to do better than him. Yeah. I mean, that's my hopes for you and Riata. Mm-hmm. And your wife, her husband, y'all's kids. I want to see y'all do better than I did. Yeah. I want to see you guys be more successful, better than what I ever could. Yeah. And I believe that's what Abraham was trying to do. He wanted to see his kids. He'll be a father of many, many nations, which basically from Abraham out to where we are today, Abraham is the father of it all.
Yeah.
He wants to see every one of us do better than he did. Each generation do better, do better, do better, do better.
Yeah.
So, for the last 4,000 years.
Yeah. That's all he wanted for us, was to be better.
So how can we learn faith but learn from our father, Abraham? He is our true Abba.
Yeah.
Father God is our true Abba. But when we're looking at faith, looking at walking this world system out, when we look at walking out our lifetime, he wants us to see us do faith better. Yeah. Wants to see us do hope better. So,
and I think that obviously we're all human. We're all going to mess up, but I think that because we have the stories like Abraham's, because we have the stories like David's, we can look back on those and we can get wisdom from them. Just like, if I have a question about stuff, you're usually the first person I ask. You're the first person that I go to. I think about whenever I blew the transmission in my first truck, that I called you and I said, hey, I'm stranded. I'm stuck. What do I do? And you told me to get to a safe spot on the road, tow it back to my buddy's house, and you said, I'll be there. And I remember talking to you on the way home.
It was 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
When you called.
You were getting ready to get in bed.
I was in bed. I was getting in bed. Yeah.
And I called you and told you that I blew the transmission in my truck. And the first thing that you did was ask if I was safe, ask if I was in a good spot. And I said yes, and told me to tow it back to my buddy's house. And I remember on the way home, I was talking to you and I said that I was sorry. And you told me, you said, it's okay. I blew the transmission in my car. And
blew
you
the timing chain in it.
Yeah, you had to have Pawpaw come and get you.
That was at 1 o'clock in the morning.
At least I didn't make you get out that late. But
what did all your buddies think?
Oh man, they thought that I was going to get reamed. But you didn't. You didn't get mad at me because it's something that you had to walk through. It's something that you did too whenever you were my age. And I think about that same deal with Abraham, that we can look back on his story because we definitely do bring humanity, our hope, our humanity sense of hope into what God is trying to do, and we try to do it our own way. But yeah, I think it's really cool to be able to look back on those and say, you know what, even though that I mess up, God is still good. God's faithfulness is still good to us. And that's what throughout this radical series, I've been really conscious to look at where we're talking about radical whatever, whether it be radical generosity, radical faith, radical hope, radical servanthood, whatever it is, there's usually a flip side to that where, yes, we can be radical, but God is even more radical on the other side. Yeah. That he has a radical faith, that he has radical hope, that he has a radical generosity to him, that even whenever our humanity comes into our hope, God's just as hopeful and just as radical and ready to step in and still see through or see to it that even though we bring our humanity into it, he's still good to us.
Yeah. Well, that's why I came from that place whenever I got the idea of doing radical hope was that one scripture out of Romans chapter 4 that we started with this weekend. I think it's verse 18. It says, Abraham, contrary to hope, in hope believed. Yeah. Contrary to hope. Contrary to what I think the way we see it as the world system. We know how to hope, but we always keep that inkling of doubt in there. Yeah. Where the true definition, Greek definition for the word hope, which is the Greek word elpis, means a joyful expectation with no room for doubt. That neck stretched out expectation with no room for doubt.
Yeah.
So, that's my first point out of the three.
Yeah.
Was that we need to get that definition and not take the definition that we so hold on to. It's that there's a way to explain this if God don't come through. Hey, we're going to go eat. You're going to meet us there. Well, I sure hope so.
Yeah.
One of the things that Christians love to do, especially religious Christians, well, you never know what God's going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You got his word. You know what he's going to do. And he's going to heal you. He said his word heals you. He sent his word and it healed them. His word was Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus came and supplied everything that we need for healing. But if God don't, you never know what God's going to do. He's going to teach you a lesson. He's there. We come up with all these ifs, conditional.
Yeah.
We come up with all these conditions that can let God off the hook.
Yeah.
No, he's radical. He don't need your off the hook. He's radical.
Yeah.
And so what he wants us to do is to have joyful expectation, neck stretched out expectation with no room for doubt. We got to have that expectancy.
Yeah.
That his word will come to pass. You say, well, some people say, not you, but some people say, well, you just, if God don't. There ain't no if God don't.
Yeah.
What if he don't? Well, what if he does?
Right.
You want to get conditional? What if he does? That's radical.
Yeah.
And that's what people will say too when God's word comes to pass through healing, through whatever the case may be, through prosperity or whatever. Oh, God did that? That's too radical. Ain't nothing too radical for God.
Yeah. Seriously.
That's just what you could handle.
Right. Oh, that's good. Wow.
He can get more radical than you can even shake a stick at.
Yeah. Man, that's good. That'll make you think. I love the definition that you gave, that elpis, the neck stretched out. I think about a runner, like in the Olympics, whenever you're watching those guys run track, and whenever they get right up to the finish line, they all lean forward and stick out their heads to try and get that little bit, even if it's by a nose. They're still reaching out in the hopes that they win. That's
what I was thinking of, is like the Kentucky Derby. When you see the horse win by a nose, it's because he is, all 4 feet are up off the ground and his neck is out there.
Yeah.
Right at the right moment to win by a nose.
Yeah.
But the runners, people are good too.
Yeah. And I think that that
picture of people.
Yeah. I think the world definition of it is kind of almost a passive waiting. That there's, if it happens, that there's kind of that passive waiting on the if to happen,
Yeah.
So.
And that's what God is talking about there. Are you going to expect this up until the end?
Yeah.
Well, if it don't happen in my time, then I've got to have an explanation.
Right.
I've got to explain God, a way. Got to explain him to people. I've got to explain him to the people of why he didn't come through. And he's like, I was just getting ready to set the sack of your answer down in front of you, but you tried to help me out, so I can't give it to you, because if I do, then you're going to look like you did it.
Right.
So I'm going to back up. And from the time that Ishmael was born until God came back and visited Abraham again about Isaac at 100 years old, there were 13 years in there that God did not speak a word. He didn't speak a word to Abraham and Sarah.
Wow.
Nothing. Why? Because he tried to help him out, and he can't give him Isaac yet because Abraham will explain away Isaac and stick with Ishmael.
Yeah.
13 years
Wow.
that God didn't say anything.
Wow. Man, that's heavy thinking about that.
Because who would have got the kudos for it? It wouldn't have been God. It would have been Abraham.
Would have been Abraham.
I don't know how, and I don't know what, why, but God chose 13 years and said, all right, Abraham, I'm going to talk to you. This time, don't screw it up. I'm giving you a year.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a year. I'm giving you 9 months here.
Wow.
To a year.
Man, that's good.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to think about, to keep in the back of your mind whenever you want to try and help God out. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, like I said, sticking your neck out and pushing through that waiting process and just keep hoping, but not trying to force something. I think that's a pretty big key to that, is to not force anything, but be hopeful, to remain hopeful.
Well, that's why I said this weekend that hope is the forgotten factor of faith. It's the forgotten factor of what God wants us to believe.
Yeah.
And so, because it's hope that'll make your faith come to pass. Everybody looks at the faith, but what got you there is through hope.
Yeah.
It's the Jan Brady.
Full circle.
You probably ought to cut that out.
I thought it was good. I liked it.
Marcia. Faith.
I think it's a good way to look at it.
But one of the things I left on the cutting room floor, and I didn't know if you were going to ask me.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to ask.
Really,
and this will be the last thing.
Yeah, really is nothing that I left on the cutting room floor that I had that I wanted to put in. But the thing is now read through the New Testament, and every time you see the word hope, mark it.
Yeah.
Because hope is quiet. It's laced throughout the scripture, but it's quiet. Faith is loud. Faith is, when we see faith, we go, yeah, faith, yeah. Ooh, I love faith. We do love faith. Yeah. Because it's the thing that says, this is why you got God's answer.
Yeah.
You're like Jesus told the woman with the issue of blood, your faith has made you whole. It's what he told you remember the 10 lepers that came to Jesus? And Jesus says, well, you guys are healed. Go show yourself to the priest. And they did. They went and showed themselves to the priest, and the priest pronounced them healed. But only one of the 10 showed back up to Jesus and worshiped him for the answer. Yeah. And Jesus told him, well, your faith makes you whole. Which means somebody with leprosy, they've lost their nose, they've lost fingers, they've lost toes. Yeah. Things have rotted off, Well, those other guys got healed and made well. And all that means is their leprosy went away. Yeah. They didn't get their fingers back. This guy came back and worshiped Jesus, and he says, your faith has made you whole. Wow. And he got all his fingers back. He got his nose back, got his ears back. He was perfectly, totally normal. Well, just made whole. Yeah. Yeah. So being made well and being made whole are two different things. And it comes out of how much faith did you put into this whole deal. I'm sorry, how much hope you put into this whole deal. Yeah. Because his faith made him whole. Their faith, the amount of their faith has made them well. Yeah. But his hope went so far as to say, you got that from Jesus. Go back and worship him. Wow.
We want to say thank you once again for tuning in to this week's Unpacking video. We will be back next week with another Unpacking on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Again, if you haven't already, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave us a like, and we encourage you to comment also. We want to know what you got from this week's Unpacking video, from the sermon that we unpacked or the topic that we unpacked. We also would love to hear if you have any ideas for us to unpack as well. So leave those in the comments section. Again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you back here next week, Wednesday at 5 p.m.